The road workers started to do their work. At the time here, one of the man called Raja, he's just laughing and he's not doing any work. If you feel that I'm lying, you may trample me under the foot of your elephant. The village headman asked the workers to throw their spades and the crowbars and to just go and catch that lunatic Mara and bring back to him. Hello everyone, I am Babita Tamaya, lecturer, Department of English, Vidyashram Pre-University College, the Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about the poem If I Was a Tree. In my today's session, I'll be discussing about the play Watchman of the Lake written by R.K. Narayan. So before moving on to the play, let's see about the author, R.K. Narayan. I think you might have all known about R.K. Narayan, who has written the short story collection known as Malgudi Days in the year 1943. So he is famous for his Malgudi Days. Let's see more about R.K. Narayan. R.K. Narayan, born on 10th October 1906 to 13 May 2001. He was an Indian author whose works of fiction include a series of books about people and their interactions in an imagined town in India called Malgudi. So each and every short stories you can find the word Malgudi. It's a village, but now it's not an exist. He is one of the three leading figures of early Indian literature in English, along with Mulkraj Anand and Raja Rao. So you'll learn more about Mulkraj Anand in your degree. He is credited with bringing Indian literature in English to the rest of the world and is regarded as one of India's greatest English novelists. So he is regarded as one of the English greatest novelists. Narayan rarely wrote plays, and the present one is said to be dramatized version of his short story, The Watchman. Present story, it means to say that the watchman of the lake. Let's move on to the play. These are the characteristics of the play, The Watchman of the Lake. So before I start with the play, I'll just tell you about the play here. So you have 5 scenes in this play. Before moving on to the play, let's see the characters here. Village headman, king, Mara, watchman of the lake, Ganga, his son. Whose son? Ganga is Mara's son. Son, Ganga's son. Ganga's son here, they have not given the name. We'll just consider him as Ganga's son. Bhima, a road maker, and others. These are the characters. There are many other characters who comes in between, but the important characters here are the headman, king, Mara, watchman of this lake, Ganga and his son. These are the characters. So before starting, let me tell you one thing that is about the lake. Nowadays, the rivers and lakes are getting dried up. Do you know what has to be done for this? What are the measures can we take it up? We have not thought about that. But let's see what measures can be taken or what measures they have taken in this chapter. So in this chapter or in this play, you'll get lot of information to the readers as well as the students. There is a very good message from this chapter. Let's start with the play, The Watchman of the Lake. So the pretext of The Watchman of the Lake is like this. On the eastern base of Baba Budan Hills in Karnataka state, there is an obscure little place called Sakkare Pattana, which at one time, 1,000 or more years ago, was the capital of the king called Rukmangada. In the center of this town, there is a shrine which is dedicated not to distant gods or heroes. So the shrine is not dedicated to gods or any heroes, but to a rustic who was watchman of a lake called Ayankere, 4 miles from the town. For the purpose of this little drama, let us call him Mara. Mara Here already the word Mara is repeated again here. You have already studied in the previous chapter, that is around a medicinal creeper, but that Mara, that character is different from the watchman of the lake, but the name is similar. Mara, which is as good as any other name handed down to us by tradition. So Mara is a name by tradition. It is a vernacular language. By tradition, the Mara is a word very simple and easy to understand and keep it in our mind. So R.K. Narayan has also used the same name, that is Mara. This is the pretext of the play. Let's begin the play. As I told, you have 5 scenes. You have to read the textbook for the better understanding. You can do one thing. You can watch the clip first. Later you go through with the textbook, is fine. Or else read the textbook first and then watch my clip is also fine. It is up to you. Either of one, you can do it. So let's see what happens in scene 1. A village at the foot of a hill, road menders at work. In the scene, village headman is furious about Mara's attitude and mischievousness. So here, the headman is worried about Mara's attitude as well as mischievousness. This leads Mara to be locked up in the cellar behind the old temple. Because of Mara's mischievousness, he would be locked behind the old temple. Let's see what is happening in this scene. So in the first scene, the village headman is asking the road makers or the road menders to do the road work, because the king, the royal passage will be passing the next day, so the road should be ready before the king arrives. And the village headman says the road members that we need to impress the king. The road workers started to do their work. At the time here, one of the man called Racha, he's just laughing and he's not doing any work. The village headman gets angry and he calls Racha to come near the village headman. And he just questions him, why are you laughing? Why you're so happy? Why you're so merry? Even I also want to know about it. So he replies, it is Mara. The village headman gets angry. Mara, is that lunatic here? The workers there, they says, yes, he is there. Is that lunatic anyway here? The village headman asks. So the workers say that, yes, Mara was here. He was behind the rock and he had hidden there. When you told Mara, he just ran away from that place. So the village headman asked all his road workers to throw their spades. They were working because they wanted to impress the king, and the road should be ready before the king passes on that way. So the village headman asked the workers to throw their spades and the crowbars and to just go and catch that lunatic Mara and bring back to him. So the workers throw their spades, everything. They just run back of Mara to catch hold of him. They just throw everything and they run back of Mara to catch hold of him. After some time, they come back along with Mara, saying to the village men, we have brought Mara back. So the village headman gets angry and he asks, why are you disturbing my workers? Mara says, I'm not disturbing your workers. I'm doing my work. Let them do their work. I'm not disturbing anyone. The village man says, your work, what is your work? Your work is only to come and disturb others. Other than that, you are not doing anything. Mara says, I never disturbed anyone. I came to do my work and I am doing, let them do their work. Mara replies in such a way. So the complete chapter, it's like a conversation. I'm telling this as a story for you so that you can understand better. When Mara says to the village man that I'm doing my work, so the village headman asks, what work the lunatic can do? You don't have any other work rather than disturbing my road workers. I have already told you that you should be away from my workers until the king passes on this way. The village headman says that I don't want the king to know that there is such lunatic people in a village. And village headman says, I want you to be away from this village for 2 days until the king passes from this way. And he also says that if I find you anywhere around this village once again, I'm really going to put you into the cellar behind the old temple. That is what the village headman says to the Mara. But do Mara keep quiet? Does he listen to the village headman? Really? No. The village headman tell the workers to continue with their work. So each one will be busy with their work. By the time Mara says, I need to talk to the king because the goddess has conveyed something to me in my dream. I want to convey it to the king. That is what Mara says. So what does the village headman reply there? When Mara says about his dream, the village headman says, once again, if you come and tell me about your dream, I'm really going to kick you out from here. I don't want to listen any kind of your dream until the king goes away from here. But what does the Mara do? Mara says, yes, you might be jealous because the goddess has come only in my dream and not in your dream to convey any kind of a message. And Mara also says to the headman, shall I repeat whatever the goddess has told in my dream? So the village headman says, you better be away from this village until the king departs. I'll give you a gift. So Mara says, when the village headman says that I'm going to give you a gift, Mara replies saying that already I have got a very great gift. Do you want to know who has given that gift? The village headman says that, yes, of course, I want to know who is that great man who has given you the gift. So Mara replies, it is my father-in-law who has given her daughter to me. That is the precious gift for me in my life. So all the workers who are working around, they'll start laughing at Mara's reply. So here the village headman gets angry about Mara and then he calls Bhima. Bhima, who is huge and giant in figure. So Bhima throws all his works there and he'll come to the village headman and ask, yes sir, how can I help you? What should I do now? The village headman says, Bhima, bind this fellow's hand and foot and throw him into the cellar until the next evening. Bhima says, yes master, okay fine, I'll do it. And the village headman is telling Mara, look at this giant man, that is Bhima. What Bhima can do? He can swing the elephant by its tail and throw. That is what the headman says to Mara. And be careful with Bhima. If you try to play any tricks with Bhima, you will be crushed in between his thumb finger and forefingers. That is what the village headman says to Mara. So what does Mara do? Will he keep quiet? So by looking into Bhima, Mara is asking, how did you manage to grow so fat? Mara is questioning Bhima. So what is Bhima's reply? Bhima says that my mother has given me the iron decoction when I was baby and have carried huge grinding stone and have climbed the hill. Grinding stone, what you say, that is Kadiyo Kallu. I have carried that on my back and have climbed the hill. That is what Bhima says. And when Mara is talking to Bhima, the village headman says Bhima not to talk to him anything or not to discuss with him anything, and go and you just take him and lock him up in the cellar behind the old temple. That is what the village headman says. So what does the Bhima do? Bhima takes Mara to the cellar. While going, now Mara is just explaining about his dream to Bhima. What has the goddess had told in his dream? He tried to just explain each and everything to Bhima. So while going, the village headman says to Bhima, don't talk to him too much. He'll try to skip from you or he'll try to escape from you if you listen to his talk. So just avoid listening to him and say that he'll be inside the prison for the next 2 days until the king goes back. So this is about the scene 1. So let's see what has happened in scene 2. In scene 2, trumpets blowing, restrained cheering of crowds, etc. announce the arrival of the king. Suddenly, there is confusion. So the road is ready. The king is about to pass on that road At that time, there was a confusion. What was the confusion there? As the king is about to pass under a tree, someone jumps down from its branches. A medley of voices crying, where did he jump from? Who is he? Hold him. So what happens? The king was about to pass under a tree. What happened? A man jumped from the branches. So the people who were seated there, they are confused. Who is he? Who has jumped from the tree? Hold on, catch him. That is what they can hear. By the time, so the king says, silence. Who is the man? I want the man to speak. The man who has jumped from the tree, I want that man to speak. So a voice starts saying that, Your Gracious Majesty. The king says, let the man speak for himself. But again the voice says, this man is not worth to speak. But the king says, I want to hear from the man. I want the man who has jumped from the tree. I want to listen to him. What he wants to say, I want the man to speak to me. So now the man, that is Mara, is dragged in front of the king, and the king is asking, who are you and why did you jump from the tree? Why did you drop from the tree? So the Mara replies, Your Gracious Majesty, I am an unworthy dog, I am a lunatic, but I have a word to convey to your gracious ear. And after telling that, if you feel that I am lying, you may trample me under the foot of your elephant. Mara tells that where your majesty now standing is a sacred spot. Wherever the king is standing right now, Mara says that it is a sacred spot. Why he says that it is a sacred spot? Because there once stood the great Hanuman when Lakshman was badly wounded in the battle. To save the life of Lakshman, what did Hanuman do? By the guidance of the omens, Hanuman went up to the mountains in search of the Sanjeevani. Then he flew to Lanka, where he brought the Sanjeevani to save the life of Lakshmana. After that, Lakshmana was rose to the feet of the new life. Such was the power of Sanjeevani. And then where it grew, there rose a stream which came down to the mountains and now flow as river Veda. Now king is questioning Mara, do the river flow on all the months of the year? So Mara says, yes, it flows on all the months of the year since the day Hanuman brought Sanjeevani. And Mara just explains what did he see in his dream. Mara says that the goddess stood before me and he just explains how she looked like. Mara says that she stood before me. Her tresses were flying in the wind. She had stars in her coronet, a ruby as big as eyes, and her garment was gold woven with lighting. So she stood before me and she told that the river Veda which you see at the foot of the hill and from which you drink water is my plaything. So whenever you want, you make use of it. That during this time of the summer, the lake or the river is dried up. Most of the time you make use of it. Sometimes it is polluted also. And the goddess is trying to mock at the human being, saying that whenever you want, you make use of it. And when you don't want, you'll just try to pollute my water. That is what she wants to convey. That is what she is trying to say it to Mara in his dreams. And later she says that if you want this water or this river to flow, ask your majesty or ask a king to build a tank, or else everything will be destroyed. Even you will be not having water to drink also. So this is what he conveys to the king. And then he says that these are the words which was told by goddesses and I have repeated the same to you. I have conveyed the same to you, your majesty. Now what does the king reply? King says that you have the grace of God. Whatever the God has told me, I have conveyed the message to you. That is what Mara says. And he also says that if you feel that I am lying, you may trample me under the foot of your elephant. But the king says that you have the grace of God, because the God has come in your dreams and she has told what has to be done for this river Veda, that she has told to build a tank for this river Veda. You have the grace of God. So when I go back to my palace the next day, you're going to accompany us. So what does Mara says? Your Majesty, I don't have such good clothes. I have very rugged clothes. I cannot accompany you. But the king says, you cannot neglect my command. So the king says that I am clear with my command, saying that you're going to accompany with me tomorrow when I go back. So at last Mara agrees to the king's command. He says, yes, Your Majesty, I'll be coming with you when you go back the next day. This was the scene 2. So today we have studied the scene 1 and the scene 2. Let's see what happens in scene 3, 4 and 5 in the next session. Until then, take care. Have a good time. Thank you.